Monday morning. Jim Bianco of Bianco Research joins us now for more. Jim, do we need to rethink the so-called Trump trade this Monday morning?
If you assume that there was a Trump trade to begin with, yeah, you do definitely need to rethink that. Now, why do I say that? Look at what's happened in the last couple of months. Donald Trump was found guilty. That seems like 3 cycles ago. We had a debate. We had an assassination attempt. Now we've had a withdrawal. And if you look at stocks, bonds, yields, Bitcoin, you look at a chart of those over the last 3 months, show me where those events have happened, and you can't find them. So I'm not so sure at the top level there has been a Trump trade, or let's call it an election 24 trade, or that there will be one as we go forward. Now, if you want to drill down to go to the industry level or the specific stock level, yeah, there's probably some in there, highlighted by Trump media being probably the most obvious of those trades. But the reason that there isn't a Trump trade, John, you mentioned it before, whoever wins, we're still going to have a deficit. We're still going to have high government spending. We're still going to have the same problems that we've had now. We're going to have, regardless of which candidate that we get winning in November. And that's why I think that we've kind of overstated this Trump trade.
Well, have we overstated the potential volatility then on some of the unprecedented shifts that we're seeing in this election cycle? So many different notes last night, the night before, but really highlighting last night how there was an expected volatility in the works because of some of the upending of the race. Is that a fallacy?
Well, I think what they're mistaking is that there's a Powell trade in this market going on at the same time. I know you mentioned before about the dramatic outperformance of small caps and small cap banks surging. There's a better argument to be made that that's around the potential pivot for the Fed to cut rates in September, that's what drove that trade. Let's not forget, though, that last week, too, the stock market, as you mentioned, the S&P was down 4%. So there was already volatility building in this market. And this morning, given what we saw in the second half of last week, has been very subdued. You would expect it, even without this announcement, based on what happened last week, a bigger move in this market. So I don't think there is a real big, again, I'm talking about at the top level, at the market level, or maybe at the sector level, that you've really seen this play in the market. And lastly, I'll mention something Henrietta mentioned in the previous sector. Whatever the policy is of Trump, whatever the policy is of Harris if she's the nominee, needs 218 congressmen and 51 senators to agree with it. We're not electing a monarch. We kind of forget our, 8th grade government class, that we need both of those bodies to agree with whatever that they want to do. And I think that that's really more where the markets are focused.
You mentioned that on the sector level, it could have a bigger impact. And the sector level includes one of the biggest behemoths that's driven the market rally to date, which has been big tech. And we've seen big tech get a boost in part because there is this belief that Kamala Harris will be more friendly to big tech with certain types of tariff policies, et cetera, that she can do unilaterally than some of the other potential candidates. How much do you view that as having credence and having legs?
Well, I think there is a little bit more there, and especially if you were to focus on Tesla. For whatever reason, Tesla seems to be a stock that is kind of like a Trump trade stock. The stock was up 45% in 11 days after the debate. And because Elon Musk has been so tied with Donald Trump, he's giving him $45 million a month now for the rest of the election cycle. So, yeah, that's helped to push all of the Magnificent Seven stocks higher and some of the other stocks as well. But even if you were to take Tesla out, yeah, I think that there's probably more of a trade there. But not even there, I would say it's not as much as everybody thought. But there is more there than there is at the top level.
But, Jim, can we sit on Tesla for a second? Isn't this a company that benefits from what the Biden-Harris administration has done when it comes to EV subsidies across the United States?
You could argue that, and then you can look at the stock price, and for months and months and months, it went down, down, down until June 28th, and it took off and went up 45%. So, I mean, that's an argument, a rational argument that makes sense, but the way that the stock is traded, look, we're in a meme stock world anyway, and so the way that this stock trades is it is starting to trade like Trump media as a meme stock. Now, it won't always be that way. There will be, at a minimum, the election in November, and it'll probably end, but it'll probably end before that. But right now, it does seem to be trading like that.
Jim, appreciate some of the clarity from you, sir. As always, Jim Bianco there of Bianco Research on the latest. Let's get you an update on stories